everyone, welcome back to another edition of Get Sweaty. I am friendly Soda Warner. As usual, I'm joined by Ben Rayner, Soul Colvin, and His Geek. How you all doing?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, this should be a fun week because we had to revisit our youth for this one, for the most part.
And I didn't notice your name, and I think I know one of them picks.
The thing about Soda is he always puts one of his picks in his name, but you never actually can guess which one.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, that's certainly what I try to do. Have a little fun with it. So this week's topic. Last week we did top 5 TV show theme songs. This with lyrics. This week is top 5 animated TV show theme songs with lyrics. And from our little chat before, it sounds like it's going to be quite the eclectic list. So we might as well hop right into it. I'll start it off. My number 5 pick is the 1967 Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a Spider-Man can. Yeah, that's my number 5 pick. It was one of the staples of my youth, and I'm probably assuming some of yours as well.
Definitely.
Not by you, but later in life.
Yeah.
I also love the rendition from Homer Simpson of Spider Pig. Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's Spider Pig now. It's Harry Plopper.
Exactly. This song is so famous they even included it as the intro score for what was it, Spider-Man: Homecoming, or was it Far From Home?
Well, I think it was both.
Yeah,
Both.
yeah. It's managed to leak itself into the MCU, which is just shows how iconic this song is.
Well, and even had a cameo, I believe, in either Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2. When there's a Spider-Man, they say, Spider-Man. I forget one that
I was going to mention that it was sang by a street performer in Spider-Man 1.
Yeah.
In Amazing Spider-Man 2, it was Peter Parker's ringtone. It made a cameo in Into the Spider-Verse, and it was even in the end credits. Yeah, it's a very perfect song.
Yeah. All the Spider-Mans.
Spider-Mans. I wasn't going to put it because I did watch the show, but at a certain point, the show kind of really goes off the rails, and you can kind of tell it was made in the 60s.
Oh, very much so.
I don't know if it was looking back then, but it didn't look good. Whatever it was.
Oh, it was fun when I was a little kid. Okay, 50. What is your number 5?
Speaking of the 1960s, I'm going to need some aid from this piece right here. Okay? Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you?
Nice.
We got some work to do now.
Honorable mention.
Honorable mention for me too.
I mean, I grew up with Scooby-Doo, like reruns, obviously. I wasn't born in the 60s, but I grew up with reruns of the Scooby-Doo, and it's one of those theme songs that really, really sticks in your head. They even used it for some of the Scooby-Doo video games. They used it for the live-action movies, quality aside, and they also used it in the most recent movie, Scoob. Did any of you guys watch Scoob?
Such a good movie.
I did not.
It's so good.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
I would recommend checking it out.
The thing is, I watched that movie about a month before my dog passed away. I don't know if I'll have the heart to watch it again. Specifically, no spoilers, but specifically because the movie kind of deals with not only just a boy and his dog, also a boy losing his dog.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I'll have the heart to want to revisit it, but
That's where the hookah comes in, 50.
yeah.
With Scooby-Doo, again, this is staple of, I think, like all of our childhoods, because the reruns just kept coming and coming. And then there's all the different renditions of it. And one of the things I mentioned too, so this is a little preview of like one of my honorable mentions, is that I have the What's New Scooby-Doo song in my honorable mentions, because I like that rendition a little bit more, but both songs are amazing.
I can't say I've seen that one actually.
I might have seen a few episodes.
Let's do Scooby Doo. We're coming after you. It's the rock version.
Yeah, okay, I know that one. I do know that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The theme itself had a lot of renditions and reimaginings, but I think this one was the best and the most iconic. That's why it made its way onto my list.
All right. So, Saul, what is your number 5?
So my number 5, I actually had to look the lyrics because I just remembered more of the theme of it, and it's the Boondocks.
Oh, okay. Never seen it.
So the beginning lyrics is like, I am the stone that the builder refused. I am the visual, the inspiration that made ladies sing the blues. So it's rap. It's a show that was on Cartoon Network. It was the Adult Swim. So I definitely was watching this show way too early, along with my anime that came on Adult Swim. So, but man, this show is hilarious. It's even more hilarious as an adult when you understand all the themes. I will say they use the N-word a lot in this show, but it's absolutely hilarious. It is a staple. If you have not seen the Boondocks, go watch it. I think it's on HBO Max right now, which sorry for Soda and 50, but Ben can watch it.
Okay.
There are other ways.
There are other ways,
yes.
There are other ways. Okay, Ben, what is your number 5?
My number 5 might might get Quentin, I'm not sure. I had the choice between doing the two, and I think 50 is going to do the one I didn't pick. So I picked the Jetsons.
Not on my list. Okay.
Okay.
Then the flip side.
There was thought about it, but it did not make my list.
I just love this song because it describes the family so perfectly. And you just see that family dynamic in this quick, short song. That perfectly sums it up to me. And it's catchy, it's fun. I just love it.
Yeah, you get everything you need to know about the show just from the theme song. It does its purpose.
And have you seen the Family Guy version of the theme song?
No, can't say I have.
Oh, have to send it to you. But they do something funny with it.
All right.
In typical Family Guy fashion.
Of course.
The reason it wasn't on my list is because I don't think it's quite as memorable as that other one you may or may not have been considering.
Yeah, that other one's definitely going to be coming up.
And for me, it was really hard to put this list together because there was definitely over 10 that I was like, oh, I also love that one.
Yeah, there were a few. I'm sad to see them on the honorable mention list, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm happy we went with the direction we did. We split live action and animation.
Yes.
Yes.
It really helps us focus more on, have more picks.
And with me, I also was trying not to play too much on nostalgia and actually go into the music of some of these. So some of these I had mentioned before, there's a future pick of a show that I didn't really watch much. It was after my time, but the theme song musically is just really, really good.
Yeah, I think most of mine is nostalgia, but some of these shows I still watch. So
yeah.
All right. So my number 4. Dum 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 dum. Georgia, the jungle, strong as he can be. I mean, that's got to be probably the most catchiest theme song out there. And
it's in your head.
Yeah, it gets stuck in your head. And like I said before, the show came out in 1967. And there's only 17 episodes of the show, but this theme song still persists.
Yeah,
I mean, you have it in the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
I know the theme song.
Yeah.
And there was a rebooted animated series, so it still counts. They also do the exact same song.
And it's incredibly catchy. And you get it's another one where you get everything you need to know because in the one verse they introduce all the characters and who they are. And I mean, you get it, and that's all you need. And the title credits are funny.
Can I be
And
honest?
also the movies, like
Oh,
when you watch the movies, they're just hilarious.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser was the perfect pick for George.
Yes.
I was going to say the movie is incredibly underrated. I love that movie.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I love
And
how
who plays the female lead?
Leslie Mann.
Leslie Mann. Just like she's also, I love that movie for the fact of like, it doesn't over sexualize Leslie Mann, but it does over sexualize George. So like you have like those moments where she's like covering him up, or she's doing, and like it really it plays on those tropes, and it does it fairly early compared to like stuff now where people are more conscious about the way women are perceived on film. So like this was very early and very like forward thinking, ahead of its time in that man.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the TV show, Ursula is dressed like Jane from Tarzan in her own loincloth. So, I mean, they definitely changed that up for the movie.
And you know who's really funny in the movie is Thomas Henry Quick.
Yeah, as the bad guy, yeah. Lyle Vandergroot. And let's not forget John Cleese as an ape named Ape.
Perfect.
Okay, 50, what is your number 4?
Okay, so my number 4... Hold on, before we get to my number 4, I just had something I wanted to share. Okay?
Okay.
Where is it? Okay, so this... Can you all see it? This is my trailer reaction for the first trailer for Scoob. Okay?
Okay.
Hold on. This is my trailer reaction for Scoob. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? Sandy, Sandy, Sandy. What's that? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, clearly there was a lot of love in there. And, but, yeah, my number 4, Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. They're a modern Orange family.
Punt. Slight punt.
It was punted by Soul. I clearly don't know how to sing.
Slight punt. Okay, Soul, what is your next one?
So I went with a show that I watched a lot when I was a little kid. And Danny Phantom, he was just 14 when his parents built this very strange machine designed to see a world unseen. He's going to catch them all because he's Danny Phantom.
Definitely past me. Never seen the show. I don't think I've heard of it.
Danny Phantom. 50's seen it. I highly recommend seeing this show.
Okay.
I forget how many seasons it is, but it's this weird presence of, so you have his parents who like are ghost hunters, and no one believes that ghosts are real. So their parents look like they're the psychotic parents that people are like, who the fuck are these people? And then they build a machine that turned their son into a ghost, basically, where he could like turn in. That's why it's called Danny Phantom, because like he turns into a ghost whenever he like wants to go fight other bad ghosts doing bad things. And so it's kind of this clash between like his parents who hate what he is, but he uses what he is to be like a superhero.
Ah, gotcha.
And so it's a very, very interesting show. I recommend it.
And he's a teenager, which makes it an even stranger play on the Spider-Man dynamic. It's like if Peter Parker's parents, if they were alive, obviously, if they hated superheroes and whatnot. Or mutants, because technically speaking, that's what he is. And by the way, Saul, did you ever hear of a video game called Nicktoons Unite?
I have.
Yeah, it's Danny Phantom, Jimmy Neutron, Timmy Turner, and SpongeBob SquarePants teaming up to fight intergalactic villains from their own universes. That's the main reason I started watching the show, because I was only a fan of SpongeBob, but I was really interested in the game, so I watched like Jimmy Neutron, Danny Phantom, and Fairly Odd Parents.
I grew up with all 4 of those shows, and then like even though both of them are not on my list, I do love both the theme songs for Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron. And then they even did 2 or 3 TV movies where they crossover, and it's
Yeah.
the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour
Nice.
on Nickelodeon.
The
And
only
yeah,
one I-
like as a kid, those were like, oh my gosh.
the only one of those four I've seen full episodes of is Fairly Odd Parents. And one of my favorite jokes comes from that. One of my favorite jokes come from Fairly Odd Parents, where they're in a nightclub and Timmy's on stage doing stand up and like, don't forget to tip your waitresses. And the male fairy just like flips his waitress over. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, Ben, what's your number 4?
Just a quick message from my mom.
Yeah.
What are we going to do tonight? Something we do every night. Take over the world. Take care of the rain.
Rain.
Yeah.
That was another possibility, but it did make my list.
I love it, and this is from our time. I mean, we grew
I love
up
that
in
show.
it, and
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love that show.
Yeah. No, I can listen to those, to Maurice LaMarche and Rob Paulson do voices. All nice. I can listen to those two do voices all the time. It's so great together.
Yeah, no, that show was probably one of my favorites that like spun out of the Animaniacs.
Yeah.
So that show, so good.
I didn't watch the Animaniacs reboot. Was it as good as it was promised?
I haven't seen it either.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
Too bad.
Okay, so what is your number 3?
It's the slight pun from earlier. It's the Flintstones.
Meet the Flintstones.
Yeah. Would have been higher if it wasn't for my other 2 picks. But yes, Flintstones is probably the most iconic TV cartoon theme song. And funny enough, the one that we all know wasn't the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did appear in, I think, the 3rd season.
However, this means it could actually show up in another.
That is true. That is true. Honestly, I don't know what I can say about the Flintstones theme song. It's incredibly catchy. It's another one that everybody knows. You can go to any part of the world and sing it. I'm pretty sure they would know it.
Another thing, the movie is underrated. I love that movie.
The movie's not bad.
All right, 50.
Okay, so my number 3 actually was a theme song that was my ringtone for a big portion of my army days. I had to highlight that up, but yeah, it was my alarm clock for most of my for I'd say about a year, and it was the theme song for The Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It was a show that ran for 2 or 3 seasons, maybe, of The Avengers. Basically, they adapted pretty much every memorable story from the comics. And, I mean, it came out around the same time when the MCU really kind of started to get its footing. And if you wanted... And I wasn't too familiar with all of Avengers stuff. I was more the X-Men and Spider-Man stuff. But I wasn't too familiar with Avengers stuff when I started watching it. And I watched it, again, during the Army days. And it really was the perfect preview for everything that the MCU ended up being. Like, they did the Winter Soldier storyline before the Winter Soldier movie came out. They did Captain Marvel's origin before the Captain Marvel movie was even a concept. They introduced the Black Panther. Vision was a major part. The Age of Ultron stuff. Even the Purple Man from Jessica Jones. The Purple Man even had his own storyline. And I think it's one of the best made superhero animated shows. It's a shame that the follow-up show, Avengers Assembled, which has often referenced that original show as its precursor, never quite lived up to the hype of that show. But it's great. I mean, and the list of characters that show up in that show was incredible. Like, even Spider-Man had a few shows. Heroes for Hire were on that show. Both Ant-Mans were there. Even Yellow Jacket made an appearance. The proper Yellow Jacket, not the one from the movies, obviously. And even Mockingbird. Yeah, I almost said Mockingjay. That's a different franchise. Mockingbird. And my mom, who was in the chat, just started watching her for the first time. She was watching Agents of Shield, and we just now got to that part where Adrian Palicki came out as Bobby Morse, aka Mockingbird, which is great.
Nice.
Yeah, and even my favorite part of it is they kind of had Nick Fury as a black man. It wasn't before Iron Man, obviously, but before it became the popular thing that he looks like Sam Jackson. He didn't look like Sam Jackson in the first season, and then at some point he just showed up and he looks completely different. He looks exactly like
That's
strange. That's what happened in the comics.
And they glossed over the fact that he looks completely different.
Nice. Yeah, that's straight from the comics.
Yeah, in the comics they were like, is it cool that we make him look like you, Sam Jackson? And he was just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And they made him look like him, and then they cast him as it later.
Yeah, you know what nobody ever brings up about Nick Fury? Remember Cap's book from the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Yes! And it clearly says in the book that Steve Rogers watched Star Wars. Yeah. How is he going to react when he sees Nick Fury as Mace Windu?
Exactly.
Now,
the prequels didn't exist.
He probably only watched the original trilogy.
Maybe.
Yeah, they've never specified.
Maybe in their world, the only one that counts is the original trilogy. The other ones don't exist.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so Soul.
Alright, this is the one that I've only seen a few episodes of this. This is like a little after my time, more my little brother's time. So like it was on in the background. But like I said, the theme song is great, and I even like re-listening to it, I was like, man, this theme song is 104 days of summer vacation, but school comes along just to end it. The annual problem for our generation is finding a good way to spend it. Like maybe, and it's Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, okay. I'm funny enough, I've never actually seen the opening credits for that.
But yeah, the opening credits, like, definitely like top-notch opening credits.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which kind of brings up a question I've always wondered. I always wanted to ask, is there really 104 days of summer vacation? Where are you thinking?
I don't know. Not where I'm at.
Because
I've never counted. It's always been like 3 months. Kind of.
It's only 2 months around here, so I never actually like. Well, that's 104. That's like half the school year. When do you even start?
Yeah, no, because it depends. Some schools get out in May, some schools get out in June, and then you start in August.
And up here we start in the early September.
Yeah, and some schools start at the very beginning of August. So when I was in Tennessee, we got out in May, and we started at the very beginning of August. Here in South Florida, you get out end of May, early June, and then you go back to school at the end of August. So I think too, like, you have that summer vacation. So it's around like 90 to 104 days, depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
For us, it's July and August, which almost always sucked for me because my birthday is in July. Everyone else gets to celebrate their birthday during the school year, and I was the only one who just didn't get to celebrate with anyone. And then at some point, I joined a special class where we actually learned through most of summer vacation. So I kind of get to celebrate my birthday during summer vacation at school, which was, bittersweet because you get to celebrate your birthday with your friends. Like, it was also in school during summer vacation, and summer vacation was like 45 days for me at that point. But
for us, it's 3 months, so it's roughly around 90 days.
Yeah, for me, it's just shy of 3 months up here.
Okay, but back to Phineas and Ferb. It's a great show. You should watch it.
It is. I remember it being funny. It was one of those ones that would just pop up on TV random when I was in my late teens, and I enjoyed it.
And what's funny, too, is, like, I love at the end of the song, at the beginning of it, it was like, Mom, Phineas and Ferb, we're doing a title sequence again. Because like the sister, I think her name is Candace, is always like, "Mom, Phineas and Ferb are doing this." Like she was a tattletales snitch.
Nice.
And to bring it back to our Fairly Odd Parents, kind of mirrors the ending of that title sequence where the babysitter kind of calls him out on something, and then the fairies change her into something else. It almost kind of mirrors that.
Yeah. And how no one knows that Doofenshmirtz, other than Perry the Platypus, knows that he's evil when his company's literally called Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
Your mom's calling you out in the chat, 50.
What do you mean 2 birthday parties? What?
Out of your whole life?
Maybe, because I stopped celebrating my birthday after my 12th birthday, but whatever. But, yeah, I was going to say about Doofenshmirtz, speaking of the Pinky and the Brain, speaking of villains that almost eclipse the main characters, Doofenshmirtz is... I would watch a spin-off show of Phineas and Ferb where it's just Doofenshmirtz versus Perry the Platypus.
Yeah, honestly, like, because you have the kids doing their stuff of whatever they just, what are we gonna do today? And then they, like, create their stuff in their backyard. And then, like, you have this, like, B plot of they have a pet platypus. And their platypus, named Perry, is actually a secret agent and goes against Doofenshmirtz. And so you have the kids doing whatever they're doing, and then you have like this spy thriller as their B plot.
And, like the main villain, somehow his inventions, which always somehow have the word innate or in, somehow his inventions always somehow undo what the kids do. And that's how no one, their parents never actually see what the kids are doing.
And never believe Candace, which I think is her name. I could be wrong.
No, it is Candace.
Yeah, okay.
Perry the Platypus. It's very much the Superman storyline where when the platypus is like a regular platypus, you never would be suspected. Then he's standing upright and putting on a hat, and he's like, "Oh, that's Perry the Platypus. How did they not see that?" So yeah, it's very much the Superman Clark Kent with the glasses situation.
All right, you're number 3, Ben.
We're
tiny, we're teeny, tiny teen adventures, baby.
Yeah, I did. I forgot about that one.
Well,
I don't think I ever heard that theme song in English, so that's why it went over my head.
Gotcha. I completely didn't even think about it when I was doing my list.
Yeah, I didn't love it. I mean, it totally encapsulates the whole cast, the characters are told. It is great. I love it, and I can't wait for the reboot of this.
That's right, they're doing a reboot of that too, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah!
And I believe Miller is involved again.
Well, he was just an executive producer.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and I think he's still gonna be doing executive producing duties on this one. But yeah, no, I love Tiny Toon Adventures. It's been so long since I've seen it though.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, whenever they announce that they're doing like the next generation, like the younger versions of Looney Tunes, the first thing people think of is, oh, it's gonna suck and it's gonna ruin the legacy of the originals. Clearly didn't happen with Tiny Toons.
Nope, and I mean, he even had the originals appear as their teachers, which I'm like, that's a perfect way to use them.
My favorite part about that was Bugs Bunny is the principal. Because of course he is. Of course Bugs Bunny is the principal.
Yeah. The most mischievous of them all, of course.
Yeah, this was definitely a show that I watched as a little kid as well.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring the conversation back to video games, but did you guys ever know that there was a Teeny Toons video game?
Yep.
Yes.
Mm. I did not.
The video game, they turned everything back then into a video game.
Yeah, it was the point of Nintendo. Stuff with
you needed stuff for your Nintendo, like Game Boy.
Yeah, because I remember there was an Animaniacs video game. There's DuckTales video game, which they remastered for the Xbox. And then there's all the Disney animated movie video games. Oh yeah, they pretty much did everything back then.
My Game Boy was purple. And it was the see-through one where you could see like all the connections.
Yeah.
I have that one. I still have that one.
Nice. Okay, so my number 2. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales. Woo! Do-do-do-do. Oh man, that is a great theme song. And I'm actually kind of going towards. Part of me sometimes wants to go towards the reboot version, but the original, man, like
yeah, definitely. I listened to both earlier today, and I was like, the original has it. It's in my honorable mentions. I love this theme, and it was hard too because I was just like, do I pick that? The same person who did DuckTales also did Chip and Dale. Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers, and then also Darkwing Duck. Like all three of those theme songs, so good. And I remember watching it on. Remember those like little TVs with the antennas? Like if you were on a car trip, you would put that on. And so I remember watching DuckTales and Darkwing Duck on those little itty bitty TVs.
Yeah, I do remember doing that when I was younger. My favorite version though of the DuckTales theme song actually was never used for a show. It was when they introduced the cast for the reboot and they had all of them singing the song. That's my personal favorite version of the theme song, but for this list's sake, it's the original. I don't know what else more I can say about it. It is incredibly catchy. Everybody from our age group knows it, knows the words for the most part. It's one of the more famous theme songs in history.
Did you not see it, 50?
No.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Playing on the same channels I watched as a kid, but I only remember finding out about the show as I grew up and discovered the internet and kind of through that. So, but I never actually watched it growing up, which is weird.
You've never heard the theme song then?
Nope. That's why.
I'll drop the one I was telling you about where they had announced the cast with it.
That's great. And I love the
I think I narrowed down the problem. I don't think there was a Disney Channel when I was growing up. Or maybe there was one.
There was one, but it just might not have been in Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, there was Nickelodeon, so that's where I know about the Danny Phantom stuff. There was, obviously, Cartoon Network, which is where a lot of my childhood was. And a lot of other shows just kind of randomly popped up on an Israeli one. But there wasn't a Disney one, and there was one I know later in life. Sorry, that's how I know about the Venus and Ferb. So,
and with me, some of these shows, like some of them were just from reruns, and then also like my older brother is the same age as Ben and Soda, so like I watched a lot of what he watched too. So I'm in some of the same camp as you guys, where like some of these shows is like, oh, I grew up watching these because of my older brother.
Nice. Okay, 50. What is your number 2?
Back in the 90s, I was in a very famous TV show. I'm BoJack the horse. BoJack the horse. Act like you don't know.
Okay, BoJack Horseman.
Horseman. The only adult animated series on my list, and it was fucking great. And yes, I'm using an F-bomb because they never did on the show for some reason. At least I don't remember. But it was a great show. It was very much relevant and poignant to everything going on, especially in Hollywood, which is something that if I wasn't part of the community that I am right now with the Schmodown stuff, if I wasn't following people like Mr. Christian Harloff or John Roca, I wouldn't have known about the same issues that they're bringing up. Because I think, Ben, you're going to love it because, first of all, it takes place in Hollywood, Los Angeles, and they very much bring up the strong political issues that I hear people from the SCN community talk about all the time. Like, the mistreatment of women and people of color and the way the Hollywood system works. It is such a great show, and it ended in the best way possible. And the theme song, the songs in general are so great because sometimes you have like episodes where you have a flashback to the 90s, and it's like the guy's in his car listening to some songs on the radio, and the song on the radio is literally, "This is the 1990s, this is the 90s song, you're in the 1990s, it's such a 90s song." Like, it's so literal with the humor, especially in the music, and especially in the flashbacks. And for those of you who don't know what the show is, basically, it is a horse who is an actor who played in a TV sitcom from the 1990s. 20 years later, he's kind of washed up, and he never actually had any much in the way of a success other than that show he did in the 1990s, and he kind of drowned his misery in booze and failed relationships. And he's still getting residuals from the show. That's why he lives on this big mansion in Malibu, and it's like his life really. Wait, Malibu's not in. Never mind. He lives in it, and I got confused with Tony Stark. He lives in this big mansion in Hollywood, and kind of his life is falling apart as he's trying to pick himself back up and continue his work as an actor. And obviously, he's got the nosy neighbor who is a dog, and he's got like the stoner kid who living with him. His manager, played by Amy Sedaris, which is kind of weird listening to her voice after seeing The Mandalorian, what she did there. But yeah, it's really great show. I highly recommend anyone from our general Schmodown community to watch it. It's a great thing, and like I said, they bring up a lot of issues. And I think Roka might appreciate this. I think the second or third episode kind of heavily deals with military veterans and how America is mistreating them. Nice. And one of my favorite parts, my favorite joke in the entire show, it was Bojack is kind of building something to help asphyxiate himself during sex, because it's a long story. He's in a fight with his girlfriend, voiced by Lisa Kudrow, by the way, from Friends fame. So I know Saul's gonna like that, but yeah. And he goes to like Walmart to pick up some lumber, and there's this guy who's
done way more than Friends. Lisa Kudrow's done a lot of stuff.
She has, but
put her on the map. That doesn't say that, but. This guy was an elephant who works there, goes with him to help him build the thing in his bedroom, and she walks in, she doesn't see him, and he's like, at some point she's like, "Oh, Jack, seriously, do you want to talk about the elephant in the room?" And the elephant just gets so offended, and it's so funny, and it shows how the weird things you're used to saying affects people around you, and how you gotta be very careful with your words. And the way the elephant reacts is like, okay, first of all, you know what, first of all, you can't, you know what, I can't even, you know what, it is, I don't think I've laughed at anything like that in 10 years. It's great.
Okay, so Saul, what is your number 2?
Sorry for overacting.
You're good. So my number 2 is actually sung by Beyonce's little sister Solange, and she actually has her own stuff. Not as popular as Beyonce, obviously, but she has her own singing career. And this is the Proud Family. So you have like Proud Family, make you scream, make you wanna sing. Family, it's a family, proud family. So good. I love this show. I love Sugar Mama is the grandmother, and she's hilarious. Basically, whenever the TV's on, she's asleep. And then when the TV would get, like, if someone turned the TV off, it goes, "Who's doing that?" Like, and then you turn the TV back on, she's like,
nice.
And you have to, in the Proud Family movie, Omarion voices a character named 15 Cent, which is a play off of 50 Cent, and he looks like Little Bow Wow, but the name is a play off of 50 Cent. And it's hilarious, the fact that there's a character named 15 Cent, and the main character is named Penny, so they were like, oh, if they have a kid together, it'll be a whole 16 cents. Nice. But man, the show is so good. It was definitely a staple of my childhood.
That is one that I'm familiar. I know of it, but it just missed me.
I never watched it, but the only reason I know about it is because they had a crossover episode with Lilo and Stitch. The series.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
It was a time for Disney when they like to do stuff like that. And they did a crossover with the Proud Family, Recess, American Dragon, and maybe one more thing.
Recess is also a great show.
Yeah, that's how I knew about these other shows, because they did a crossover with Lilo and Stitch.
All right, Ben, what is your number 2?
It seems today that all you see is violence movies and
TVs, there are no fashion values. Life.
Family Guy.
I had to leave that one off. Yeah.
It has not of its own TV universe. I love this show. It comes in second to my number one favorite adult show coming up. But I think, anyway, this is great. I love it.
Yeah, that's when I had to think long and hard about whether it was going to make my list or not, because it is, again, it's iconic, it is catchy, you get everything you need to know. Yeah.
You just gave me an idea for a future top 5, and I'm writing it down before I forget.
I like that. Okay. Anyone have any thoughts on Family Guy? Other than I can't believe the show's still on.
Right.
Yeah. After everything they did.
And like the few times in the opening where they switch it up a little bit, like when Peter falls or something crazy happens. So like it's not always the same thing. So that's clever.
Yeah.
And they definitely took a lot of inspiration from The Simpsons, even in the intro.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
The last episode I could say I've seen of either show was their crossover they did years ago.
Oh. Because I think I started watching Family Guy before I started watching The Simpsons. And when I started watching The Simpsons, I was watching specifically the season where instead of landing on the couch and then something happens, they go to the couch and then they start doing a can-can dance. And there's can-can dancers. And I was like, I was like, holy shit! Family Guy totally stole that from The Simpsons. And obviously, they're kind of in the same universe, so it's not that big of a deal. But
have you guys ever seen a crossover?
Yeah, as I said, that's the last episode I've seen of either show.
I think my mom did. I don't know if she saw the crossover or the episode where The Simpsons went to Israel. But I remember she called tell me about it, and she said, like, you have to watch this now. And for some reason, I still didn't. But never mind.
Okay, so it's time for honorable mentions. So I will start off. My honorable mentions are Darkwing Duck, Scooby-Doo, The Weekenders, and then the Archie show from the 1960s. 50. What's yours?
Yes, I have 4, and I just decided to add the 5th one. It was the Lilo and Stitch one that I forgot. I don't know how I forgot about, but yeah, it was the Powerpuff Girls theme song at the end. The only reason it's not on my list is because I'm not even sure what they say, because maybe it was a problem with my audio at the time. I don't know. I never could have understood what they were saying. Maybe it's because I was learning English at the time. But the Ben 10 theme song, which again, maybe it's a problem with me. I hear the lyrics, I just can't understand what they're saying. So that's the thing. The Timon and Pumbaa show, not on my list because it's basically a rendition of the Hakuna Matata song from the movie. So yeah, couldn't really consider that. And one that just barely, it did not make my list is the theme song of Adventure Time. The main reason it's not on my list is because technically speaking, there are 2. One at the beginning and one at the very end, which is the one that was on my list because the one at the beginning was like, okay, fine. But one of my favorite songs, which would have been on my list, was the theme song at the end, Come Along With Me, which is kind of sometimes it's a stark contrast to the stuff in the show, but it's a really great listen to. And I love the fact that in the finale episode, they introduced the song in its full length, in its entirety, sang by a sentient hole in the ground, because that's how the show is. It's weird like that. There's a hole singing the theme song of the show.
Okay, Soul, what are yours?
I have DuckTales.
Mm.
I have VeggieTales.
Oh God.
I have My Life as a Teenage Robot. And then the What's New Scooby Doo?
Okay, what about you, Ben?
Flintstones, DuckTales, Doug, and Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
Doug had lyrics?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Doug had lyrics?
Kind of. That's why it's an honorable mention.
It's in the honorable mention. So
Yeah, okay, we'll let it slide. Ben, you and your
For now.
lyrics. Okay, so now time for the number one. So my number one. It's time for Animaniacs. Liberty to the max. Oh, come on. How could you not love that? It's the theme song for Animaniacs, one of the best cartoons to ever come out of the 90s, one of the more risque, envelope-pushing cartoons to come out of the 90s, and none evidence more than the fingerprints joke.
Nah.
Yeah. I don't know what else more I can say from it. It's another one you get exactly what they're going for, which is complete mayhem just based off of the theme song. It introduces all the characters. I mean, you can't say anything more about it other than it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love how they always change it up too. It's never the same.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, in certain episodes they will change like a lyric in the theme song or whatever just for shits and giggles.
Really? I never noticed that.
Yeah. Certain
Wow.
episodes, some seasons there's a slightly different lyrics, yeah.
And I actually watched it in 2 languages because they had like the Hebrew version in like the mornings and the English version during the night. So
yeah.
nice.
All right. So that's my number one. 50, what is your number one? Of course.
looking after the Pride Land, staying strong and united. And no matter where we stand, we'll never be divided. Look, all the lions in the sky, always keeping a watchful eye. Here's fast and brave and strong. Look out, here comes the Lion Guard. The most recent theme song on my list, and it's actually that and BoJack Horseman is the reason why I specifically asked last week if we're allowing theme songs that were at the very end of the show. And yeah, BoJack and the Lion Guard, both of them have the lyrics on at the very end of the show, and both of them were supposed to be on my top 5 list before we changed it to before the split happened of live action and animation. So that's why both of them are still on my list, and it's the Lion Guard. It's a show about the Lion King. It's a show about Simba's son. How am I not going to watch it? Like, I was iffy on the idea when I first heard about it, and then when I heard it actually goes deep and deals with Scar's origin story and his backstory and what he was before he became evil, before he got the scar. Like, I was like, I have to watch this now. And I will say this: it's a show made for 4-year-olds, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
However, as a
4-year-old at heart.
Yeah, as a 4-year-old and a fan of The Lion King, it is a great show, and it does a great job both teaching important lessons to 4-year-olds. Like, you got to put yourself in the mindset of it's not if there's something seems childish or immature, you got to put it in your head. It's not meant for you, but adults can still take away a lot from this episode. And even for a show with 4-year-olds, they did some risque stuff involving some, as they called it, certain scenes that have something to do with the circle of life. I'll say that. No spoilers. But
all right.
Even for a show for 4-year-olds, they went above and beyond to make this show. And I wish we could get another season. Like, I love how the show ended. It's perfect. I want to see more seasons with Kion and his new location, which I won't reveal too much, just in case I've given you guys an idea to watch the show at some point.
Tiffany, can I ask you a question? Do you mind?
You always ask me a question. Doesn't mean you're gonna get an answer then.
Do you remember seeing The Lion King for the very first time? And if you do,
I wish I could. Remember, I was 1 when the movie came out, maybe even less. So I just always remember the movie was burned into my mind. I just don't remember the first time watching it.
Yeah, you love it. It's like you didn't need time to love it. You just remember always loving it.
I grew up always knowing the Lion King exists. It was always in my mind.
Okay, so what is your number one?
Yeah, I was just looking up when the release date of Lion King was, and that was June 24th. So I was just a few months old when it came out.
I was 11 months.
Yes, but so mine is I'm a basic average girl, and I'm here to save the world. You can't stop me because I'm Kim Possible.
I just watched my very first episode 2 days ago.
Really? I love this. I grew up with this show. Just there was the movie too, and then when spoilers, when her and Ron get together, like finally, like that was a big thing where it was just like they were friends for the longest time, and they finally get together, and you're like, like this show is like it was my show when I was younger. Like definitely, I loved all those like. Again, I love like those like spy like kid shows. So like the Totally Spies, I was super into. Kim Possible, I was super into. So yeah, anything of that nature. When I was little, I was watching it.
Nice. Yeah, that one's just a little out of my age group. I am familiar with it because of Will Friedle and Christy Carlson Romano from Even Stevens. But yeah, I didn't watch my first episode till like 2 days ago.
Nice.
It wasn't bad.
And I just spoiled a part for you, so I'm sorry. I apologize.
You know what means spoilers? It's very, very few things I get annoyed about spoilers on, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I was going to say Kim Possible is the fourth show that Lilo and Stitch had a crossover with.
Oh.
And funny enough, the spoilers for that episode, they thought the little rat thing that was in Ron's pocket, they thought it was one of Stitch's cousins as an experiment.
Nice.
Yeah, like I said, I never watched it. I wasn't too much of a Nickelodeon kid. I was more of the Cartoon Network side, but I was aware of that show. I just never watched it.
All right, Ben.
You're number one.
Wrap it up.
I'm going down to have going to have myself a time. Self-talk. I love this show. The song describes that town completely, and it describes the people completely, and this is one of the smartest animated shows to this day. They're so on top of pop culture, and the world is amazing. I love this show so much. It's probably in my top 10 favorite shows.
Nice. It's a show I had a love-hate relationship with for years, but until like last year when I was like, no, I really do love this show.
Yeah. I'm not too sold on it yet. Like,
it's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah, not for everybody.
Yeah.
No.
Any thoughts on South Park, Soul?
It's just I grew up watching it, and it's been a show that's been in existence since before I was born, pretty much.
Yeah, 1997, yeah.
Oh, 97 is when it started?
97 is when it came out, yeah.
Oh, so then I was alive, I was just a child.
Yeah, you just weren't the right age.
I wasn't the right age for it. So, like, I remember my older brother watching it when it first came out, and then, like, how I like the episodes that were topical about stuff when it came out, so, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say the COVID special that they did last year was pure genius. Okay, so that brings an end to the list. I believe it is Soul's next week?
Yes, it is.
Introduce it, please. So,
going on our themes list here, I love anime, and so I was just like, and this is the hardest one for Soto, but we're doing our top 5 anime with lyrics.
Okay. Yeah, there definitely have to be some massive thinking on my part about this one.
Hey, I gave you 3 weeks, man.
I know. Okay.
I have a question though. Even though sadly I won't be here next week because of work complications, I want to ask: does it matter if the same anime changed the theme song after a couple of seasons? Because I mean, you all know Pokemon's going to be on my list, but Pokemon basically has a different theme song every single season. And it's like,
that's the way anime is. So you can make a whole list based off of one show. So if you want a theme song, you have to pick that specific theme song. So like you have to be like, oh, I want theme song number 4 from this anime or something of that, or from season 4, this like, or that. So it has to be like the specific song, or like there could be others where a little tease of next week where like there's a show and then there's an English theme and then there's a Japanese theme. And I'm going to pick the Japanese theme of this show, but there is also an English theme out there that like if I wanted to I could pick both. But like it would be like a 1 and a 2, like it'd be separate.
Spoiler alert for my list. I'm sorry, they're all going to be English themed. I don't know any Japanese theme.
That's perfectly
Me
fine.
neither. All right, so thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Let's do a quick rundown of where we can find each other. 50, where can everybody find you?
You find me on my channel, 50 Shades of Geek. You find me on my gaming channel, 50 Shades of Gaming. You can also find me on Twitch, 50 Shades of Game, 50 Shades of Geek, without the F. I don't do much on it now because, like I said, new job, but I'm planning to do some new stuff as soon as Pokemon Snap comes out. And you can also find me on Patreon, 50 Shades of Geek, patreon.com/50 Shades of Geek /Pokemon Star Cross and Crescent. I'm designing a Pokemon video game based on Israel, the country I live in. We spend an entire episode talking about theme songs and music. I am currently in the process of posting on my Patreon Pokemon, literally based on Israeli songs and Israeli music. And if you want to see it, you can sign up to the Patreon right now.
All right, and Saul, what about you?
You can find me on A Little Change of Tune tomorrow for the Ultimate Showdown After Show at 1 p.m. PST. Go check that out because today there is the free-for-all. We didn't want to compete with the free-for-all, so we're coming on tomorrow on Sunday at 1 p.m. PST. Okay,
and Ben, what about you?
You can find me at my Twitter at Ben_Radio Twitter. You can find me normally on Saturday on Showdown, my Showdown show where we go over players' careers. No episode today because of the said free-for-all, but we'll be back next week. And you can find me here on the Media City Network pretty much 3 times a week on different shows. Too tired to go over them.
And for myself, you can find me at soda_the_saxman on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on the same shows as Ben on this channel. You can also find me over on my other channel, Schmoes of the North, every week doing the weekly Schmodown stuff. And in about 2 minutes, you can actually see me on Speaking of Schmodown. So I last minute filling in over there. So everybody, y'all have a good day and stay sweaty and smash cancer.
Smash cancer.